when you were in the ashram in Ganeshpuri, every now and then everyone took a day to go to Bombay, just, be a tourist. And I was in Bombay, and the place to go was the Taj Hotel. All the Westerners were there, and anyhow, and it's super fancy and super nice. And so I was there, and in the lobby, I saw a bunch of people from the ashram, and I'm talking to them. Hey, we're going to go see this enlightened guy. And I said, can I tag along? I said, sure. So anyway, I didn't know anything about him, but this was Ramesh. And Ramesh was a disciple of Nisargadatta, who Baba really respected. And I guess he had written a book called Pointers on Nisargadatta. And, it had his name on it, and he was listed in the Bombay phone book. So someone looked him up. And this was only the second time he ever gave a talk. And so like a dozen of us come piling into his house. And I'm the last in line. And so there's one chair left, there's a rocking chair. And so I sat in it, and everyone's like, no, you can't sit there, get out. And that was Ramesh's chair, but I didn't know. Some of these guys had been to the first talk, and they knew. And so I get up, and Ramesh goes, oh, no, just sit. And he takes the footstool out from under it, and he gave the whole talk sitting in the footstool. And I sat in this rocking chair. And anyhow, I was really, really impressed with the guy. Now, I still didn't have that hit that I had with Baba. I didn't know that was a one-time thing. That connection was so intense. It's like your first love. Nothing ever really catches up. But in any case, I had a strong connection with him. But it was different, totally different quality. In fact, he so didn't fit my image of a guru. He wasn't a Swami. He was a householder. He didn't wear orange. He didn't shave his head. He was just a guy. And my friend Kent and I, we were the two, we continued to see him from that group. No one else did, just he and I. We were best friends. So we're sneaking out of the ashram, and I made some excuse. I needed to get some, lock supplies and stuff, and he made an excuse, and we both were going down on the bus and the train to Bombay, and on the train, Kent is absolutely convinced he's enlightened, but he so didn't fit my image, I wasn't sure. And he was saying, oh yeah, I think so. And so we're having this, we sit down, and Ramesh just, all of a sudden, he just looks at me, looks at me, what difference does it make if someone's enlightened or not? If you're meant to see an enlightened being, you will. If not, you won't. And it was like, well, that proved it to me, because that did fit my image. He was omniscient. He knew what was going on. So anyhow, I had that down. But you see, Ramesh and I had a different relationship. We really clicked personally. And it was a relationship that I couldn't have with Baba. First of all, he spoke perfect English, and Baba didn't speak English. And second of all, it was like we talked like old friends, and we made each other laugh, and he loved my sense of humor. We had the same sense of humor, very irreverent, and we connected. As I felt like, here I'm meeting one of my old friends for the very last time. And so we had this intensely personal relationship. Over time, his wife Sharda, I would stay, subsequent visits were no longer to go to the ashram in Ganeshpuri. They were just to see Ramesh. And he didn't have an ashram. So I just made my own. I had a hotel, and I would come in to see him every afternoon, and Sharda would cook dinner for us. And I was basically there, so like, 7 hours every day, like every day. And Sharda put her foot down. Not on Sunday was family day. I could come, but no talks. And they invited me in this family. They truly did. I felt like these were the parents I would have chosen if I could have chosen really good ones. And Sharda was like the most loving being you could ever imagine. And they had an interesting thing. So, Ramesh's teaching is very intellectual, and it's, so it can come off a little dry, but Sharda was all heart. And it seems like they had kind of they worked together in that way. But I was one of the few who actually saw it, because Sharda was in the background. But since I was part of the family, I saw it directly. And anyhow, I was very lucky. And I got to be in on the front row of this thing. Ramesh told me he did not want to travel. He wouldn't let me even take notes. No recordings, no notes. He said he wouldn't feel comfortable. Well, so I took him at it. I said I'd be willing to, if he wanted to come to America, whatever, I'd help him, set him up. Because, he had something to say. It was worthwhile. And he said, no, he didn't want to do that at all. Well, there was this guy, Henry Dennison, who he had a place where he gave seminars in Joshua Tree. And he recruited gurus to give seminars at his retreat. And when he saw Ramesh, he knew he was on to something. And so he wasn't the guy who took no for an answer. And so I go to see Ramesh, and Ramesh tells me, I don't know what to do. Look at this. He bought me a plane ticket. I mean, I have to go. And so Ramesh got forced into giving some talks at that seminar place in Joshua Tree. And he wasn't treated well. He was really had to work way too hard, no breaks. And Sharda couldn't come with him. But he ended up meeting all the people that would take care of him in the future. So Wayne Lickerman had come. He's the successor to his lineage. It's like all these different people that ended up taking care of Ramesh in the future were there. And then from then on, whenever he traveled and gave talks, he was taken care of properly, and Sharda was with him. So it worked. And then his teaching got out, and 20 books later, everything else, and it was good. You see, I can't read Ramesh's books. They're way too wordy for a dyslexic like me. Just too much work to get. I forced myself to read some of them because I was supposed to. But that wasn't how I learned. He talked like a normal person, and I could totally get it from what he said. I could feel it from what he said. So I was very lucky in that regard. And Ramesh had exactly what I needed to finish the job that Baba started. It was so perfect because Baba would give these elaborate talks, and Baba would talk, there'd be 1,000 people there. And he talked on all levels at once. So he'd be giving this elementary talk to people. And then he would end it incredibly deep. He would end it on the deepest truths. He would end it on the stuff that Nisargadatta and Baba and Ramesh talked about, and so it was like, I waited for the end of the talks. I didn't care about the fluff. I wanted to see Baba take everything that he said before and say, oh, by the way, all that's bullshit. This is what it is. And he tore it all down. And so I go, Ramesh, his whole talk was the end of Baba's talk, his whole thing. And that was the ingredient I needed to clean up the garbage that had obscured my vision, you see, and had put the walls up between me and my gurus. So it did its job. And even then, with Ramesh, I had listened. He talked to me, I think, more on spiritual matters more than anyone else on the planet. I had him for hours and hours and hours, year after year after year, to myself. And, even after that, anyway, I knew I'd heard about the words had done whatever they could do, they had done. And so I figured I wasn't coming back to see him. So it just so happened I was doing my work, and he was with Wayne and somewhere in the Poconos giving a seminar, and I knew about it, and Kent was there, and Judy was there, a bunch of people I knew were there, and it was on my route, I could see him, so I stopped by for an evening, and I hadn't seen him for a number of years, and it was like no time had passed, none at all. It was so cool to see him again, and Wayne saw how we hit it off. I'd never met Wayne before, and I said to him, I said, well, you're on tour, you're welcome to come to my place on Maui, and I won't even make you talk. And he just looks at me and goes, well, you won't stop me, will you? I said, no, of course not. Well, in any case, 2 weeks later, I get a call from Wayne, and Wayne says, were you serious about having Ramesh over? Would you really do that if we had a seminar there? Would you have him at your place? And I said, oh, absolutely. And so within a month, Ramesh came to me. Now, I had spent over a decade going to my gurus, going halfway around the world to see my gurus, and it was never in my imagination that a guru would come to see me. So he comes to my house, and I said, Ramesh, I didn't think I would ever see you again, but now you've come to me. And he goes, well, in this case, it was necessary. And so from then on, it just rekindled everything. And it didn't matter that I had heard all the words and they didn't work. It just to be in that energy again was so nice. And so, I always had my puja, and I had the 3 pictures up. I had Baba in the center. I had Ramesh, let's see, on the right, and then Shree on the left. And, so he's over at my house, and I'm feeling really connected with him. And, he stayed in my room where the puja was. And when they were gone, I changed the order and put Ramesh in the center. And so Ramesh comes out of the room and he looks at me and goes, well, I see I've been promoted. And so it switched from Baba to Ramesh. And it was only a few years after their job was done, you see.